Hello, welcome to BackSlash. Today, we're going to make a flashing underscore after a piece of header text here. So stay tuned. Alrighty, now the first thing we're going to need to do here is add another file. We're going to call this underscore, for lack of a more interesting name. I like to use JSX instead of JS. Just for kicks. We will import React. All right. Nice. Now I will make my function. We will call this function underscore. Underscore. Whoa. Come on. There we go. Props. Props, come on. Yeah. And open bracket. Nice. So, that gives us our function. We'll export it. Nice. So, we've made our function. We've exported it. We've also imported React here, so we can use that. Now, what I'm going to do is add a return here, and we're going to need to set up a set interval to flash the underscore. So let's say I'll do the return first. So return, and we'll return some JSX. Boom. Okay, nice. So simply an underscore for now. We can change this if we want to later. And I forgot my closing brace. There we go. All right, so this looks awful. Let's hopefully, yeah, beautify unsaved. Nice. So now we're returning our underscore. So that we go back and did app.js. I can go import underscore from underscore. Perfect. And we'll just, nice. Now I can make underscore. Oh my days. There it is. Perfect. Wonderful. Underscore relative to, whoops. Don't forget the // kids. Nice. So now we've got an underscore. Let me put that in the span so it doesn't go in a new line. Let's see here. Yeah. Or we could just wrap the whole thing, but that's all right. That'll work. Right. So this is our entire function at the moment. I'm going to add in a use effect. The reason for this is we want to, every time the component is mounted, what we're going to do is set up our set interval to flash this here underscore. To do that, we can, we can do this two different ways here. We can return a span, and inside the span, we can just go, condition. So this will be our Boolean condition, and then a ternary expression. So we could say that, or just nothing. Yeah, that's pretty much that. Except so to finish this off, it would look something like that, or no, and then that won't render. So essentially, if this is true, which we'll set up later, then we will render an underscore, and otherwise we'll not render anything here, but we'll still render the span tags around it. So my method, I think we'll just remove that, keep the underscore here, and we'll go put the condition outside. So condition question mark, so ternary expression. If so, then we'll render that underscore, else we'll just return nothing and we won't render anything there. So in this case, I am going to add in the use effect. So use effect, where's my tab? Yeah, nice. So now we'll get the effect going. And this will be called when the page loads. So I'm going to do const, whoops, oh my days, const interval equals, and we'll do a set interval, let's say 750 milliseconds here. So a little bit of a, whoops, there it is. And put inside here, we'll say that the condition is true. Also, I forgot one thing. I'm going to have to import useState so that we can change that condition via the useEffect. And then it'll re-render when we do update the state. So then it'll either go null or just the underscore there. Great. So now I'm going to add in another const here. We'll do first one is well, condition. Sure, we'll call it condition. I don't think that's a very good variable name, but for the purposes of this, I think we can just call it condition. Condition. Set condition. Right. Equals use state. There we go. Nice. And we'll use the state of the initial state, which is going to be, let's say, false. Sure. Could be true, but I'll just set it to false. Now, what we'll do in our useEffect, I'm going to add a comment here. So adding a dependency array. And within the dependencies, I'm going to say set, shoot. Okay, this is going to bring up a problem because, okay, we're going to run into an infinite loop first off, and I can show you why that happens. But if I include condition in my dependency array here, and then within the set interval, I go, which I'll need to do, so set condition, right, and the opposite of whatever the condition currently is. Right, so then we've set that interval, and we need to set it for, how is it, 750 milliseconds, I think. Sounds good to me. And great. So we've added a useEffect. So now you can see it's actually flashing already, right? But the problem is every time it re-renders now, we see it's going even faster. So if I pull up some React Dev Tools here, let's see. Yeah, there we go. So I'll bring up profiler, components, where is it? Highlight updates. Right. So we can see this guy is going nuts. That's actually most likely because I didn't use a clear interval. So whenever this useEffect is, oh my days, it's like, wow, all right. Yeah, so whenever this useEffect returns, essentially it's like, it's ending the useEffect pretty much. So I truly don't know like what actually goes on there, but I assume that after every render, it goes and returns all of the useEffects that were currently in operation before that. So with a new render, it clears it out. So I don't know, but anyway, so what we'll do is clear interval and our interval. Right, so now if I reload this page, let's see here. Oh, it's likely just doing that infinite rendering loop. Pretty much assume that's the case here. Yeah, that's likely the case. Let me think about this. So the useEffect gets called every time condition changes. Okay, I see. Yeah, so since we have that clear interval there, every time condition is updated, so anytime that the state of condition is changed, essentially that useEffect gets called. It sets an interval at 750 milliseconds, and then every 750 milliseconds, it goes and sets a condition to whatever the opposite of condition is. A consequence of setting that condition to whatever the opposite of the condition is it'll call that useEffect once more. So when that happens, what I assume, I'm not sure, but what I assume, because it's working right now, what I assume is that the return function is called. It makes sense to me. And then it clears the interval, and then goes and resets the interval, which probably is not ideal. Doesn't seem like great functionality to me. Yeah, it would be better, I think, if this wasn't called whenever condition changes and was only called once, and then we had our set interval going. You know what? We can actually try this out. So what I'm going to do is add a console log somewhere in here. So let's go... You know what? Right after this, I'm going to say console log, and we'll do the interval. Right, so this is the identifier of the interval that we're setting. Right, so you can see that set interval is being called over and over, and basically what's happening is it's clearing the interval and then resetting it every time that state updates, which probably not a big deal. I just don't like it. I think it should be done once and then stay like that. So let me explore some pathways we can use to try and avoid this. My first sort of method of fighting this is a use callback. So I'm going to try going set, let's go set, not set interval, we can't do that. Set, whatever, timer, set timer. Whoa, no. Auto import's worse, but set timer equals, dang it, there it goes. Use callback. Right. Okay, nice. So use callback, and we will add an arrow function, and in here, the dependencies, we will add in condition. Actually, this is not going to work. Because the use callback function basically checks if the previous condition was equal to the new condition, and if it was, then consequences it'll update. Right. Like to do that in use effect, you would just have to manually add in that check there. All right. We're gonna have to do a different strategy here. I know this use memo. I don't. Let me just remove that. Oh, hey, that's pretty convenient. You can also do a functional update, set condition, C, and then an arrow function. Sweet. So that means, I guess it's passing the old state, or the current state rather, in, and then I can just do this. I mean, that would be pretty sweet. That's exactly, yo, does it work? Look at that. I just learned something new. I had no idea you could do that. Wow, gap in my knowledge. Let's see how often this is being called. Should be on every re-render. That's it. Oh, whoops. Okay, so console log interval. Right. Look at that. Every re-render. Perfect. Yeah, so we're not getting constant new intervals there. That's awesome. All right. Yeah, sweet. Yeah, that's basically how you do it. Let's do some styling. Let's add some style here. One thing I'll do is say props dot. Let's pass in some props here. All right. So we'll do props dot interval, and if we don't have an interval, we'll just default to 750 milliseconds. In this case, we don't, and let's say if the props dot interval changes, we will redo and reset the interval to whatever the new props interval is. And that's what that error was. or warning rather. Let's also go here and let's say we will add in some props dot underscore, or we'll say just a regular underscore. And I'm going to return that just as a string here. Nice. So because the props weren't set, it's going to give us 750 millisecond set interval time and that underscore. Because props.underscore is undefined, this is going to basically evaluate to false, and the OR will be then triggered to go and check the next guy, which happens to be true because it's something, and it'll render that underscore there. So same thing happens up here, exact same thing. We're just using a number instead of a string, and that's pretty much that. We don't need use callback. I can take that out. Yeah, so we'll save this. Hop on over to the app.jsx and we'll pass in some props. Now I can set my interval to something really speedy. So let's go, forgot the equals. Let's go something like 200 milliseconds, right? You can see it starts flashing super fast. All right, if I decrease that to something like 20, oh yeah, it's really going now. Yeah, so this actually could be achieved by using a request animation frame and a set timeout too, now that I think about it. But maybe that's for another video. But yeah, this is essentially it. And yeah, since it starts off as false, it's going to be a really long interval now. But you can see that as this value changes, it's updating live with that. So it's like, you know, it knows the props have changed. I believe Code Sandbox is just re-rendering this for me. But if we were to add in a function here that just went through and like looped through and changed intervals, we'd see the same thing. It would start creating new intervals every time because we added that as a dependency to the set interval, and it would start flashing at whatever the interval we passed in. Let's customize the underscore. Let's add in some underscore equals, and here we'll go give it some empty. So this evaluates to false, like an empty string, but if I add in a space, it won't, and it'll just show nothing. But yeah, an empty string will evaluate to false. So that's why it still shows the underscore. Now I'm going to put something, I don't know, so what about just a pipe character? How about that? Nice. So that looks like basically a cursor, and that's switched there. That's pretty much it. We could add some styling to this, even if we wanted to. We could add in like, let me see, I can probably insert some JSX in here. Might be more appropriate to use props.children for this, but whatever. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. Okay, sweet. Yeah, so now it's just JSX. Now I could go and add in, you know, like something like I tags. Why not? Makes it italic. Yeah, and you can add in like literal JSX here, and it'll just throw it into that function and re-render it every time. So that's pretty sweet too. But that is the premise. That's the basics. Right. You know what? You should get yourself a nice iced coffee after this. Go for a swim, read a book, enjoy life, have a tea. That's all I got. Right. See you next video.